What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Unlock Your Freedom podcast. Man, excited to share and learn with my new pal Prit today. Prit, what's going on? Welcome.
Oh, I'm doing awesome. How are you doing today, Kevin?
Doing superb. Thank you. I feel like that's a good way to be on a Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, kick us off. Tell everybody a little bit about your business and how you like to serve people.
All right. So I'm a marketing strategy consultant. My company is in Delaware, but I'm a location independent consultant, and I'm in India right now. And what else? I'm a podcaster. I'm a YouTuber. I'm an Etsy shop owner. What else? I'm a Skillshare teacher as well, and also a soon-to-be published author. It's going to be released in end of August. So I'm very excited about that. All of these new roles and the roles that I've taken on for the last 3 years of my entrepreneurial journey.
Wow, you're a very busy young woman. So, what's the title of the book? And tell us a little bit about it.
So the title of the book is Zero to Four Figures: Lessons Learned by a Broke CEO. So I started writing this book about 18 months ago, January 2021. I wrote it for about 4 months, and then I decided it was not in the direction that I wanted it to go. I think what I was essentially doing was emulating all the authors that I respected and looked up to, and I was foregoing my own style of writing in that process. And so I took a break for 6 months, kind of readjusted my perception of how I wanted my book to be, and then officially started writing in October of 2021. I finished writing it in April of 2022, and then now it's in the whole editing process. And well, it's done editing, it's in the proofreading process, and it's going to be published pretty soon. And I started writing this book because, one, I'm a four-figure business owner right now, which means I'm earning consistent four figures, and I'm earning in USD while I'm in India. So, there's a currency difference. I'm a digital entrepreneur, I'm a business owner, and despite having an MBA with a concentration in marketing and an engineering degree, if I have to add that as well, I found it really challenging to set up my business from scratch. As well as I did those tests during my MBA, there is a natural disconnect between your what you study in your degree or any courses that you take online and the practical aspect of implementing those tips. And I found there to be a lack of resources, and it was really frustrating for me when I started out 3 years ago. So I wanted, to help new entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and small business owners with actionable and practical advice for the first few stages of their entrepreneurial journey. If you see all the books out there, they're usually about hitting seven figures or eight figures. And while I would feel inspired reading those books, I would have like these imaginary conversations with the authors and like, okay, yes, it's awesome that you've hit 7 or 8 figures, but how did you even start? How did you get to 2 figures a month? Let's start with that. How did you get to 3 figures a month, and then four, and then five? And the initial stages of the journey is very different because whatever effort you put into that, whatever investment that you are putting into that, you don't see it immediately. You don't get the return on investment very quickly for the initial stages, as much as you do in the later stages of the entrepreneurial journey. And it's really hard to keep going without having that return on investment. The return on investment comes to you in the later stages, but it's hard because you don't have any validation for what you're putting in, all the blood, sweat, tears that you're putting into the initial stages. So I wanted to write a book, one, to teach practical lessons, two, to let people know the reality behind starting your own business or being a digital entrepreneur. And the third one is to let other solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and business owners know that I'm here too. I'm right here. They're not alone in their journey. I'm right here supporting them and cheering them on. So my book is basically a compilation of 60 lessons that I have learned in the last 3 years of my entrepreneurial journey. I also share stories from my childhood, from the days that I spent in Singapore growing up, from my engineering days in Bangalore, from my MBA days in New York, my work experience, and also digital entrepreneurship stories that have happened in the last 3 years. So It's a pretty big book. It's got 60 lessons. But it's been absolutely fun writing it, and I'm so excited for its launch. It's very soon, August 2022.
Very cool. And tell us the name.
Oh, the name is Zero to Four Figures: Lessons Learned by a Broke CEO. So that's me, in
Cool.
case it wasn't
Thanks.
evident.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
you mentioned at the beginning the name. I just want to make sure we captured it again because
Yeah.
that sounds like a cool book, man. What a great resource to have. And I think, that's probably a very underserved market because I know when I was getting started out, like I felt like it was easy to find the people at the end of the road or
Yes.
the top of the mountain, like you said. And so it's such a great point. I love that you're focusing on that great niche. So I know that you also mentioned you're a podcast host, and I've been a guest on your podcast. So I know you have a podcast, and it's great. And it's called The Marketing Nomad. If anybody wants to check out Prit's podcast, it's really good. She does a really powerful job on there. And so marketing is a big part of your genius too, in addition to many other things. You're pretty prolific.
Pretty versatile, I guess. Yes. A lot of
Yeah, like
interests, a lot of passions. Yes.
yeah. Well, it sounds like you're doing a lot of things at a really high level too. So like a polymath, right? You're in good company. So
Thank
um,
you.
tell us a little bit about some of your marketing that you like. Who do you love to serve in your marketing practice?
So basically, I serve small business owners, solopreneurs, and entrepreneurs who are in the beginning stages of their entrepreneurial journey. Of course, I have had clients who are in the later stages of their entrepreneurial journey, but for the most part, I think all of the free advice that I give out there, whether it's my podcast or whether it's my YouTube channel or even my Etsy shop, it's mainly catered to them. Whereas for my one-on-one consultations, it's mostly for the people who have a marketing team already ready and they're looking to use that marketing team to implement strategies to grow their business. So that's where I come in. I give an outlook on what's happening with all of their social media pages, their website, all of their marketing efforts, email marketing even, and then I give them advice, I give them strategies on how to take it forward. And then, of course, there's a check-in call that happens after 6 months as well. So that's usually what I do. So there are two different target audiences that I serve, I guess I would say. One is mainly the lower end content, like the free advice and all of those actionable tips for beginning entrepreneurs, because I know how hard it is. You can't, at that stage, you can't shell out maybe 4 figures or 5 figures just to hire a consultant. So I wanted to make sure that I was serving them as well and also serving my own business to help it grow as well.
Yeah. So somebody who's just getting started and wants to, get the word out on all their greatness, where do they start with a marketing plan?
So the first thing I would say is find where your target audience is. That's the simplest place that you can start. Wherever your target audience is, that's probably a good place for you to be. The second question you need to ask yourself is, what are your strengths? Some people are really good with podcasting. Some people are really good with video. Some people are really good with creating short 30-second reels. Other people, they're really good at LinkedIn, those posts that you write, the engaging, emotional, long-form posts. So find where your strengths are and work towards that. This is one of the biggest mistakes that I see in solopreneurs and small business owners today, especially when they are a one-man team. So when you've grown and you have a team, of course you can work to their strengths, or you can hire resources that will help you to match the platform. But when you're starting out, when you're a one-man team, figure out what your strengths are and work towards that. Don't try to emulate your idols and do whatever they're doing, because this was a mistake that I made when I first started out as well. So my first tip is find out where your audience is. My second tip is to figure out your strengths, work to those strengths. And my third last tip for the entire marketing plan is to just keep it simple. All you have to do is create paths for people to find you. That's all marketing really is about when you are starting out. As you grow bigger, you can add more complexity. You can, add in the complex marketing strategies that you see online, or you can hire a consultant like me to help you out. But when you're starting out, your main focus should just be your audience is over there at point A, you are at point B. How are you going to create the path for them to find you, and for them to actually get to know your business and your product? The minute you start focusing on that, it just becomes easier for you to build a very stable foundation for your marketing. And actually, this is something that I learned the hard way, because as a marketer myself, when I first started out, I was putting all of these complex marketing strategies, and I was so over enthusiastic about doing everything. But what I realized was those complex marketing strategies, they do need a starting point. And I did not recognize that. You don't see this anywhere else. And that starting point is just creating paths. So I had to wipe away everything that I had done and then start from absolute scratch, create paths for people to find me, interlink those paths. Like, for example, you have your website, you have your Instagram, you have your podcast. These are 3 paths, right? What you have to do is get people from your website to visit your Instagram page, get people from your Instagram page to visit your podcast, create an interlink between each of these paths, because the more people are staying on your paths, the lesser time they're going to be on your competitors. It's just as simple as that. So understanding this was a key lesson for me as a marketer, because it was just so ingrained in my head that, as a marketer, you have to put complex stuff, you have to make it fancy and all of those things. But it's not. It's really not. It's just about keeping it as simple as possible, creating a stable foundation, and then moving on from there.
Yeah, I love that one of the kind of pillars you mentioned is simplicity, because complex confuses, and the confused mind doesn't act.
Yes.
And, if you can't explain it simply, you probably don't understand it.
That's true.
So once people are on the path, one of the paths, and they're connected with you in some way, what are some of the ways that as product creators or service creators, whatever it may be, how do you help the people that are on the path understand what you do better?
So one of the ways that has worked for me personally and my clients as well is to, yes, you will be talking about your products and the services and all of those things, but the most important thing is you have to learn how to sell without selling. So when I talk about sell without selling, try to identify what is valuable information for your audience. Okay, try to serve them first before asking them to buy your product or your service. That is number one. And it is the rule of marketing. It's not something that I invented, actually. So that is the first thing. The second thing is to talk about the benefits and the transformation more than you talk about the features of your product or your services. The reason is when people see those features of your product or your services, it doesn't automatically compute in their minds how those features are going to benefit them, or what is the transformation that they will get from those products or those features. So it's important for you to explain it to them that, hey, benefit number 1 is this, benefit number 2 is this. This is the kind of transformation that you will see. You can either let them know, or you can even show with client testimonials, with reviews, with your client transformations, customer transformations, all of those things. So it's important to understand, one, that your audience, as much information as you can give them, it helps them make the purchase decision a lot faster. Because the time that they're going to spend analyzing, oh, this is a feature, and then how am I going to use this feature into this benefit, it's all time wasted. And that time is precious for you, because in that time, your competitor could come in and swoop them off their feet. So as much as possible, you want to keep that time very limited. So give your clients or your customers the information that they need before they ask for it. That's one of the biggest tips that has helped me in my business, and has helped my clients as well.
Yeah, very cool. So I want to shift gears here for a second and go under the hood of all the greatness that Prit brings. So, you're a consummate overachiever, it sounds like, and you like to crush it, and all before breakfast, possibly. So what's the why behind that? Where's that insatiable burning desire for more come from?
Oh, that's such a beautiful question. It's got a story behind it. It's got a bit of drama, a bit of intrigue. Shall I share that?
Yeah, please do. Give us the goods.
So my journey has been very unique, guys. So I come from a society where there are only 3 professions that will be respected, okay? One is a doctor, one is a lawyer, one is an engineer. And that's just how it is. Any other career path in that time, if you took, then people would not respect you. Even if you did achieve success in those fields, people would just write it off as fluke. So naturally, I kind of got into the whole societal pressure, I guess I would say. My parents did not pressure me. I want to put that out there. Poor things. They were like, you do whatever you want. And then I was really pressured by the society at that point. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do engineering. That's what I'll do. And then I did. And then the second year of my engineering, oh God, I realized this was not for me. Absolutely not for me. I could not see myself doing this for the next 40 years of my life. I wanted to find something that I was passionate about. That was very, very important for me because I've been a Bollywood dancer right since the day I was born. I'm not even kidding. I was dancing right when they were playing Michael Jackson when I was 2 years old. I was doing all of those things. So for me, I wanted that kind of passion in my life towards my career as well. It's very important for me. So second year of engineering, my dad, he's a very typical Indian parent. He's like, stop lazing around the house. Why don't you go get an internship? And I was like, no, I don't think that's going to happen. Not with the marks I have. And of course, that was meant as a joke. My mom was not amused as well. She was another typical Indian parent. So my dad, he's an entrepreneur. He's a business owner as well. So he took me to his company and he said, okay, you know what? Just spend some time over here. Take it as an internship or whatever. You don't have to give it any label. Just go see where you can be useful. So he introduced me to an employee of his, and then he said, ask her for any tips on English, because I'm a writer as well, author. So he said, figure out the website, see if you like the layout, if there's some English that needs to be corrected, figure it out, help them with that. So I sat there, and then it started out with me correcting the grammar. Then I started out with, the branding on this, like the color scheme is not matching with the other pages. And then I told them to change that. Then I started out with social media captions. At the time, I didn't realize that this was marketing. I did not even have a clue because we're talking, this is about 10 years before. I'm 30 now, almost 30. And this was like when I was 20 and it was absolutely crazy. So I was like, okay, well, I like this. And then 8 hours a day just flew by doing something that I was so excited about. I could feel that passion in me. And of course, I went back the next 2 summers to help out the team with their marketing efforts. Did not know what it was called. After I completed my engineering degree, I told my parents, this is not what I want to do. I'm not happy here. So they said, okay, well, what do you want to do? Tell us, because we have always asked you to do what you want to do. And then I said, yeah, I kind of shot myself in the foot there, didn't I, by taking engineering. So both my parents are business owners and entrepreneurs themselves. They're also engineers. But when I saw them growing up, having their own business, I said, okay, maybe someday I'm going to have my own business, probably 10, 15 years down the line, but that's something that I want to do. So they said, okay, why not do your MBA? And I said, yes, absolutely. That's a great idea. I did not apply to a single engineering job. This was my only plan, and that was to apply to universities. Thankfully, I got in a couple. I got into Rochester Institute of Technology. It was in upstate New York, along Rochester. So I went there, and then in the first marketing class, okay, I'm there in the class. I even remember what I was wearing. It was jeans and a red t-shirt. And the professor or the teacher is kind of asking questions, trying to gauge the level of understanding of the class. And there I was, Kevin. I'm just answering every single question. And it's not simple questions. It's like, what is the marketing campaign of Coca-Cola 10 years ago? Or what was the marketing campaign of Maggie 3 years ago? And there I was just answering, putting my hand up like this annoying kid in class who knows all the answers kind of thing. And that was the first class. And in that moment, I think my life made sense. My entire life had led to that moment. All through my life, I had absorbed materials on marketing, reading articles about it, reading stuff on the internet, and reading books about it. I just did not know what it was called, and finally had a name. And those 4 years of my engineering, well, it was, I don't want to be dramatic, but it was really, really painful because everyone around me had figured out their life purpose. They loved engineering. I did not. And I was feeling so lost. At the age of 22, when everyone else had figured out their life, I was like, okay, I'm so behind in life. And when I finally found my passion for marketing, I knew I would never take it for granted. So this is actually why I am so passionate about what I do. I am so passionate about marketing. And my story actually doesn't end there. It actually, so 2 years of my MBA went well, amazing stuff. I got a full-time job as well. So you get 1 year of a student visa when you are in the United States as an international student. And then after the 1 year is up, you have to convert that student visa into a work visa. So there I was. I got into a top solar firm in New York, Long Island, and I was amazing. It was just so beautiful, such an amazing life, amazing job, amazing colleagues. Everything was perfect. And then my work visa did not get processed. It was such a painful phase of my life to realize that a place that I had called home for the last 3 years was no longer going to be there. The vision that I had for my life was puffed out. And then, I was leaving behind my friends, an amazing job. I had just found my passion, right? So it was in that moment, through a lot of pain, through a lot of anguish, that I said, well, I'm at level 0. I might as well start something now rather than 10 or 20 years down the line. I think that I would regret not giving this a shot. And if it doesn't work out in a year, then I can always go on LinkedIn and submit my resumes and do all the normal things that people do, what I was supposed to do. And then that's when I started out. 6-7 months into this entrepreneurial journey, I realized that, hey, I've got something good going on here. Something's working. Something is, computing all together. And that's when I actually officially set up my company a year later. And that's where I am. My journey has come from a lot of pain, a lot of anguish, a lot of frustration, a lot of tears, and a lot of things. And not for a second do I take what I have for granted. And it's basically a culmination of that I do everything in my power to make sure that this journey, I'm giving everything to this journey, basically. Yeah, wow. That's my story.
Wow, that's really powerful. I love one of the things you said in there was really cool. When you said all of a sudden my life made sense, I was like, oh my gosh, I remember that moment. It took me. I was older than you when I got there, a little bit, not too much, but I was like, oh, like I felt like up until that point, like everything was square peg in the round hole, and like you kind of like you mentioned in there, like doing what you should be doing, or I wasn't even doing that half the time because I was like, man, that doesn't make sense. I don't want to do that, and I'm not very good at doing things I don't want to do. So I love the energy and just the way that you kept moving forward, right? Like I think so many people get trapped, and you probably see this a lot with the clients that you have and the people that you know. It's like they have to have the whole plan before they get started. And I'm like, well, you're going to spend a lot of time creating stuff you don't need, like because we get into action and we soon find out we're going the wrong way, right? Like
yes.
The more you talk, the less I see you as an engineer, right? Like engineers are great, thank God for engineers, right? They build great things for us to use and keep things running, but man, they're not like usually the life of the party, right? They're not as high energy quite as you. And I have a really good friend and a client who's an engineer. He's like, I'm a reformed mechanical engineer, and but he's so brilliant. He asks the best questions. I'm like, man, you just have like that, this very pragmatic brain. And so really cool. Thank you so much for just being vulnerable and sharing your story with us. It's really, really powerful. And I want to take you through a little fire round we do here at the end of the show, so I can bring this thing up for a landing and send you on your way. I'm sure your to-do list is like 80 items long, so you got some crushing it to go do. But what's a piece of mindset advice you'd give to somebody as a new business owner?
Well, I think we just talked about it, Kevin, and that is you don't need to have all your ducks in a row. It's what I started out with. I really did not have a plan. Because you have to understand that the life that I thought was going to happen did not happen. So I refused to plan. But I think that was one of the best things that I did. I just planned for the next week. That's basically what I did. On the other hand, I think jumping in without thinking that, okay, I need to have A, B, C, D, E, F, G all in a row before I get into a place it helped me because 1, I created my own journey. 2, I did not copy someone else's journey because I'm pretty sure I would have done that. It's a very natural instinct to look at someone who's done it before and then try to emulate it, try to work through the same steps. And I'm glad that my journey is unique in that way. So yes, I do agree that planning is a little bit important, but you don't need to have all your ducks in a row. All you just need is a vision and your commitment to that vision.
Yeah, all you need is a chip and a chair. What's something in your life that's non-negotiable?
um, so I have three non-negotiables that I go for. It's peace of mind, stability, and happiness. These are my three non-negotiables. In every decision that I make, I always make sure that I am in alignment with these three.
Wow, good for good for you. And we should all take that advice. That's a pretty good filter to run your decisions through. All right, what's a favorite book to read, recommend, give away in addition to your new book coming out?
So one of my favorite books, or well, one is 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. Very, very inspiring. Especially, I read it at a time when I was feeling very low about my business. If that's ever happened to you or your listeners, I recommend reading that book. It really is so inspiring. Another one is Atomic Habits. That's also another good one.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, Robin Sharma. He's a pretty powerful dude. He's got a new book that I just read, The Everyday Hero Manifesto. That was really good too. I'm like, man, heck, I can write. What's one message, if you could get it out to everybody in the world, what would that be, Britt?
Well, if you are one of the lucky few people to have found your passion, because not many people realize that they can do that, not many people allow themselves to find their passion. So if you're one of the lucky few who found your passion, I think that you owe it to yourself to see it through, to see where it can take you, to see how it can transform your life. This is what I truly believe. This is what my entire life's purpose is. This is where it's led me to this far.
Yeah, absolutely. Great advice. Well, and then what does freedom mean to you?
Freedom means to choose my own life in my own way, aligning with my non negotiables, and whatever makes me happy. That's it. At the end of the day, it's all about finding things, finding ways to reach your happy point.
Absolutely. All righty, last question. Where can people go to learn more about you?
So I am the marketing nomad every single place. You can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Twitter, you can find me on Etsy, The Marketing Nomad, or you can visit my website, www.themarketingnomad.co. And yeah, or my full name as well. That's the author name that I have, Prithvi Madhukar.
Beautiful. Well, thanks so much for coming on and sharing with all of us and the fine folks listening in. You guys, if anything that Prit mentioned struck a chord, I would definitely reach out to her. She knows a lot of cool stuff, and she got a big heart, man. So I think she'd be happy to share it with you and take you anywhere you want to go. So definitely check out the show notes. We'll have all her sites linked up where you can go find her and check her book out when it comes out soon.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for being here. Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, my pleasure. Thanks for being here. And you guys, thanks for being here till the end. We're grateful for you. And as always, if you want to, create more in your life, it's not about doing more, it's about being more. So be more.